daughter, Vinny's own daughter and wife, testified against him today. I mean, incredibly powerful evidence. The jury is going to hate him. We had a 3-day murder trial, and we're probably going to get a verdict in less than 3 hours. He's going to be found guilty of all counts. He's dead in the water.
All right.
Are we taking bets on this case? I'm ready.
Yeah.
And then once they meet, the phone call ends, and whatever happened next happened next. I mean, to me, that is the picture I've got in my mind.
And that's the picture the jury's going to have, Vinny. Very powerful evidence there. That 22-minute phone call that corresponds with Watson's just fatal drive to her death, where she's executed with a gun to the back of her head by her fiance, who she was going to marry in 2 days. So I love the state's use of this evidence, the GPS, the app, the call logs, very powerful stuff, and how they buttressed it with the fake calls and text from Addie to Watson later on.
Oh, sweetie, pick up. Where are you?
That's the best evidence for the state, and that's why he's going to be convicted because of Emma's testimony today.
But I think
Emma's
if he was a stranger, absolutely. If he was a stranger, absolutely. But they knew each other. They were in a relationship for 7 years. They traveled to different places together. Maybe on one of the trips they went to Disney, he gave her the shirt and she just happened to have it. So I kind of see that a little differently. At least that's how I would argue it in trial. But, we'll see what the defense says.
Teresa, how
in their
about Emma
closing argument.
completely eviscerating his alibi story, the 8:30 to 10? She just destroyed him. She may as well have been a prosecutor today.
The alibi story, I agree. I think the alibi, 8:30, 10 o'clock, that's a difference. But the T-shirt, I can explain that away. But as we all know, if I'm the defense and I have to explain away every little thing, that's usually a big problem. But again, my job is to create reasonable doubt. So.
Children.
I am, Vinny, and I assume the worst at this point. Even law enforcement is talking about foul play. And, Vinny, I'm the most aggro, gung-ho prosecutor, but, this is a case where I think it was negligent, but it's really nothing more than a tragedy. My wife's an attorney for foster kids here in California, so I understand the laws here really well. And it's very difficult to have your parental rights terminated, and only then are the children, these young children, put up for adoption. So, the fact that there is that tension between the biological parents and the adoptive parents, it's not uncommon because the biological parents have lost all rights to these children. But the adoptive parents have done everything they can to cooperate with law enforcement. They've provided multiple interviews. They've talked to the media. Multiple search warrants have been executed at the home. And so far, there's not one shred of evidence that ties these parents to anything other than just being negligent. And it's just really a sad case, but I don't think it's a criminal one, Vinny.
All right, let's take a listen now. We got the latest.
In Florida and Oklahoma and other jurisdictions that specifically address what they call rioters. Liberals are calling them protesters, expressing their First Amendment rights. So, and this case is 100% going to trial. There is no doubt in my mind it's going to happen in 7 months or later, whenever it's continued to, because as a prosecution, you can't offer a deal in this case. You and I have talked about it both on Court TV and in your podcast. Maybe there's an imperfect self-defense possible deal, but I don't see it happening. We're going to see a trial in this case, and it will divide this country even more.
Yeah, Dave Arenberg, I eliminate anyone who believes in the Second Amendment from the jury?
Then you have to. I mean, this case is all about jury selection. It's just like Derek Chauvin. People have such strong preconceived notions about guilt and innocence in this case. You got to pick the right jury. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get that unanimous verdict, like you said. I mean, everyone has seen this video. You have to have lived under a rock not to have seen Kyle Rittenhouse kill 2 people and injure 1 others. I mean, this has been national news for more than a year now, and it's just going to continue up until the trial. So hopefully you have that individual voir dire that we had with Chauvin, and you got to pick the right juror. That's their only chance of getting a conviction if you're the state here.
All right. Body cam footage to prove their innocence. Neama, that really caught my eye there. Prove their innocence. Do you think we are at a point right now where there's a presumption of guilt, that people are presuming that all police officers are guilty in officer-involved shootings?
Well, Vinny, when an unarmed black man is shot in his car, I mean, it's not an unreasonable assumption. And I agree. this is an issue of transparency, and there's really only one basis and one basis only to withhold the video, is if the state needs to finish conducting its investigation and they don't want interviews tainted by folks seeing the video. But other than that, there's no reason to withhold this video. And let's talk about some very important thing that the judge ruled. Even when the video is released within 30 to 45 days, the officer will be blurred out. So the public isn't seeing the true video. And I agree with Dave. I mean, one of the things that's working its way through Congress right now is the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And it will make body cameras and video cameras mandatory for federal law enforcement. And it will make state and local law enforcement agencies that provide it, it'll provide financial incentives. So that's something that the public needs and the public deserves.
Yeah. One other place we need to put